Hey guys, so as promised, I'm here to film a morning chat with my favorite guest in the whole wide world. And yeah, so if you guys have signed up for our newsletter, you have already heard that we have decided to move out of Korea in December. And not right away, but we are moving to Hawaii finally. It's kind of crazy to say that on camera, right?
Yeah. We're not going directly to like Hawaii right after in December though. So the situation is that my last day of work is actually November 30th. My last day at Reebok was where I work, by the way. I don't have something lined up afterwards in terms of like the next job or the next gig, and part of that's on purpose. But we're going to use that time to travel quite a bit, actually, maybe 3.5 months or 4 months, maybe.
Yeah, so right now we're thinking 2 months in Southeast Asia and a month and a half in the States, because our family and our friends are kind of scattered throughout the States. Yeah, so that's the plan for now, but we did have a few friends telling us that, you know, since we're already on this side of the world, we might as well make the most out of it. And so if we decide to visit a country and we feel the need to stay a little bit longer and explore, we're going to be flexible.
Yeah, it's exciting times. We're really looking forward to the travel and obviously the move.
You know, obviously the question that everyone asks first is like, what are you guys going to do about work? Did you already get a job there, right? And our decision has been pretty interesting because it was what, like a year ago, right? It was mid-September when we went to visit Maui last year. Our room's a mess. This is how Brandon does his hair because he's too tall. He can't stand up. You look like you're like humping the sink.
Can't see my hair.
Yeah, come in. He's clothed. Come on.
Oh, thank you. Are you really gonna keep recording me doing my hair? Oh, I still got some sand in my face.
I said let's move here, and I wasn't joking.
Do you want to have this conversation now?
Yeah.
I was reading a blog.
About living here?
Yeah, about a guy who moved here for a year.
What did he say? Did he say everyone should do it? And ever since then, we have been toying with the idea. Like, I still remember when I came back and I was telling you guys about my trip. I talked about how, you know, we both had this moment in the ocean, right? We were swimming. And like, there weren't many people around. In fact, I feel like it was almost just the four of us, right? In that area. Yeah. And both of us were out there swimming in the ocean, and we hadn't said anything to each other, but we both had the thought at the same time, like, what would it be like if we lived here, right? Is that how that happened?
Yeah, that is how it happened.
And then I hadn't said anything out loud, but I remember Brandon looking over at me, and he was like, do you think, would you want to live here? And I was like, oh, are you serious? I just had that thought, and I thought I'd said it out loud. That's why I distinctly remember that it wasn't voiced. Also, I think I've mentioned that since we've gotten back from Maui last year, we've had like little signs pop up here and there, like very interestingly, whether it was like the girl that I ended up sitting next to on the flight, or me getting connected to Jess Williams, who does the podcast, The Mind Palace, I think it's called. You were just, what was it like?
Oh man, it's a couple of things, random, and this was all within a week after coming back, actually, which is the crazy part, because, yeah, one was, I basically was looking through Instagram, and there was a post of a sea turtle, and I was like, oh, we saw a bunch of these, and then I saw it was actually a sea turtle from Maui, very specific reference there. I watched the trailer for Moana that week, randomly, and obviously that's about Maui. The god Maui, I guess. And then I listened to a podcast, Tim Ferriss podcast that week, and the guy he was interviewing actually lived in Maui at the time and was interviewing from Maui. And so I think the significance of that is more that we're not like big risk takers or anything. At all. Yeah.
We're very carefully planned.
Yeah, very cautious people. And, you know, we just kind of had that thought, and it was fun to have the thought, but I think we would have gone on business as usual if we were left to our own devices. But those things happen, and we're like, wow, this doesn't seem to be coincidence. And you know, I'm familiar with,
like, if you start thinking
confirmation bias.
Confirmation bias.
Yeah. So you know, once you make a decision or you make a purchase or something, you start seeing that thing everywhere. I'm aware of that, but there weren't any signs, if you will, after that week. Like nothing specific to Maui. Of course, you see images of Hawaii here and there and whatnot, but it was significant enough. And obviously, after that point, we were like, oh, let's consider it. And we were still looking for other things. And we joked about it, like, oh, validation, you know, and we're
keeping track.
Yeah. It was sort of like this kind of jokey thing by that point, but it wasn't as powerful as after we got back. So, yeah, we started to seriously entertain the idea, bring it up to people. And, I mean, overwhelmingly, everybody was like, yes, do it.
Yeah. It was more like, don't go, don't leave, don't go, but you should go, but don't go. Especially our friends in Korea. But I think one of the big things was, since getting back and like having the thoughts about wanting to live there, our first big test was going to be when we visit the Whitmans, our friends Chad and Gail in Shanghai. And Chad used to be Brandon's old boss. He was the brand director of Reebok in Korea. And we're like, okay, let's definitely ask them and, you know, get some feelers.
Yeah, I think the big part of that is because he always has a way of like just going straight for the big meaty truth, you know, whether it's scary or whatever, or uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And so for me, he was like the last test. He was like the gatekeeper almost. Like everybody else kind of did pass, and I was like, okay, December rolls around, they're our final kind of confirmation. Was in my mind anyway.
Yeah, and I think you were really preparing to like have this whole like presentation almost ready for Chad about why we're doing this, the purpose, like,
I was like,
have we been praying about it, like all of those things. Like he was going to ask us about that, right?
It was like, oh my god, it's kind of like when I went to ask your parents for your hand in marriage.
Yes, you had like a presentation or something ready,
yeah, on the plane ride, I was like thinking through all the things that, you know, her dad might ask me, this, that, and the other.
And this would be the second time my parents were ever meeting Brandon, because he flew to New York from Korea to ask my dad for permission before he proposed to me. And he had this whole thing ready, but as soon as he brought up my dad, like apparently just stuck out his hand and was
he's like, congratulations.
But yeah, we were fully preparing for, you know, Chad and Gail to really like advise us to keep praying about it or, you know, whatever. But immediately both of them were like, go.
Yeah, do it.
We're like, what?
Congratulations.
No, and like the funny thing was we're actually thinking earlier, right? That we'd go to Maui earlier. That's why we moved into this apartment.
Yes.
Because currently we're living in Gangnam and we moved into a smaller space because one, we really thought this was going to be temporary, like for a few months. Like our first... Yeah, yeah, you're right. The first contract we signed at our new place was a 5-month contract. And then we asked to extend it because we made the decision that, you know, Brandon would finish out his Reebok contract. So, yeah, we've been thinking about the idea and, you know, asking for wisdom wherever, you know, it made sense. And then on August 20, no, in August, I forget the exact date, we decided to go on a social media detox, right? And Netflix. Because we wanted to use that time to connect with each other and, you know, find other ways to spend our time and be more intentional instead of just like vegging out in front of the TV, which we love to do together, especially after, right, a long day of work or, you know, weekends. It's like Netflix binge central for us. From what I remember, it was like we'd sit on the couch and like turn on music and read books together, or we'd talk about stuff, or what else do we do?
CX.
Yeah. that was another reason we wanted to go on this fast, is because, you know, when you sit there and you're constantly consuming, anything you do intentionally outside of that or after that, it just feels like work, right? And we did talk about how our intimacy was suffering in the bedroom because we'd both be on, like, I'd be on my iPad, Brandon would be on his phone or Kindle, and we'd just be watching YouTube videos or doing our own thing, and then we'd just be exhausted and we'd go to sleep. So we're like, okay, let's just cut all of that out for 2 weeks and then see what happens. And it was great. I've never like intentionally fasted like that before. I know you have, right? From food, right? But I'd never fasted like that, and I know people do that because in that time you're like seeking God, right? There wasn't any part of us going on that fast for the sake of like praying about our move to Maui. Or at least not for me. Was that like that for you?
No. It was just to, just to do it.
So I forget exactly, but I just remember on the 21st, I think, that was the last day of our detox. That was a Sunday. So Saturday, we were actually on our way outside of Seoul to visit a friend, Sungchan. And Sungchan is Sandra's husband. And Sandra is my friend that was on my morning chat earlier, like last year. And we were driving back. It was like about an hour drive. And I remember you were kind of preparing or like thinking about what you're going to talk about at church, right? Because on Sundays, Brandon presides. So he does the prayer. He shares like church announcements and he just greets people at the front, like before our pastor comes up to speak. And maybe you should tell the story, but I remember on our drive back, you were like, I don't know why, but I want to talk about oceans tomorrow, like the analogy of oceans.
Oh, yeah. No, I was journaling that week. And as I was journaling, I forget exactly what it was, but I just remember the way that I had written about the oceans. The ocean and how, on one hand, it's like a really fun place to visit. There's a lot of, it sustains you. You can fish there, you can surf there and have fun and go on the beach and hang out and things like that. But at the same time, it's this massive, massive thing. There's creatures large and small that can kill you. There's hurricanes and all this kind of stuff. All from the same entity, and I forget exactly the context. I was journaling about awareness or about vulnerability and sort of just how crazy paradoxical, all the good things in life are.
Sunday morning, I get an email from Brandon because in the morning you'd gone to the office and I was home getting ready for church, and you stopped by the office as part of your morning routine. And he sends me this email, and I guess like I just kind of skimmed over the subject. Is it okay if I read this, your excerpt?
It's not that good when you read it though.
I really like this. So he sends me this email and I read it, and immediately I'm thinking, oh my gosh, like what blog did he get this from? I want to read this. But Brandon wrote this. This was a journal entry, and this is really special to me, so don't take this away from me, okay? So the subject, the title of this post was called Mindfulness and Awareness. So he wrote, one of the things I realized today while meditating is that I do the meditation to check it off my list, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it jolted me a little. Life seems to be about a masterful balance between managing, making, creating, and experiencing. I think vulnerability is the lubrication that makes all these things flow in either direction. Not being resistant to the fear, but to really feel it, to be open to it, to let it wash over you like a wave. Understanding the full power of the ocean to wreak havoc, while at the same time realizing it's able to provide some of life's greatest joys and sustenance. In the end, that's my goal. To be aware of the power, to be purposeful in my actions, and to experience it in full. I don't want to fight my feelings, but embrace them, dance with them. When I set a task, I should approach and commit to it, even if it's the wrong one. And once committed to it, I just want to embrace it. Give it a hug because I love hugs. I love them very much. Baby, that's so you. So here I am reading this and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, who wrote this? I want to read their blog. Yeah, that was my husband. So that was a page from his journal. And we go to church that morning, and he goes and I don't know exactly what you talked about, but he did mention something about the oceans up there. We go into praise, and there was this one song. So we're still not together. Like Brandon's, closer to the front of the congregation. I'm in my seat, and this song comes on. And it's a song I've heard many, many times before, but it just really moved me, right? And there was this one part that like really just, I don't know, it like hurt me, and I just started tearing up, right? And then after service, I think it was you, like you mentioned it to me. You're like, man, like that second song today was really powerful, right? And you were saying that you ended up getting really emotional too. And then I was like, yeah, that's so crazy. You know what that song is called, right? And he was like, he didn't know. So I was like, yeah, no, that song's called Oceans, and I'll link it down below because the lyrics are just, it's crazy. It's like Answer to Prayer, right? I was like, babe, this song is called Oceans. And to me, I thought the whole time Brandon knew that we'd be singing that song on Sunday, and he was trying to tie in his message, his welcome message with the song and the sermon. But like apparently he had no idea that that song was gonna be sung that Sunday. And so I'm like, can we listen to it together? And we were on our way to our friends Sandra and Peter's house. So we're in the car and we're playing the song, and I'm looking through the lyrics, and it's all about just following God out into the deep waters, like where your faith will stand, and how, you know, we're doing something that's so risky, especially as two people that are super cautious, but it's really about like fully placing our trust in God and God alone. And I remember we were in the car driving there, and we were both like crying because we were just so moved. And in that second I was like, babe, we're going to Maui, right? It was that car ride.
Yeah.
You also told me that your prayer this whole time was you need the Spirit to guide you.
Yeah, the reason I was I was breaking down during the song is that there was a part that's Spirit lead me where there's trust without borders.
Where my trust is without borders.
Where my trust is without borders, yeah. And it's just something that I've been praying about. Is I tend to overthink things a lot, and in overthinking things and or not following the promptings of your intuition or whatever it is, yeah, I just feel like I have an underdeveloped part of that. I don't know what to even call that, but and this whole journey has been kind of, I mean, like it's taken a long time. It wasn't like we just left as soon as it was like, oh yeah, confirmation, let's go.
Yeah.
There was a lot of good reasons to stay. The work started to turn around a bit, and so I thought that maybe, you know, staying for the rest of the year might help me to accomplish the things that I was hoping to accomplish at this job. Turns out that's not the case. Oh, even like in us talking about moving, you know, we were thinking about some business ideas that, you know, would kind of maybe make more sense to be on one of the other islands, because Maui isn't as connected as like Oahu, for example.
Right.
And so we were like considering it and just thinking through a lot of different things. And so that whole, I mean, that was what, 8 months of us just like deliberating. No, more than 8 months.
More than 8 months.
Yeah.
Close to a year.
Close to a year.
Close to a year.
And it just kind of came to a head, and it was like, just, you know, I'll answer your prayers. It won't be easy. May not be easy, but make the leap, I guess.
Yeah. You guys need to listen to that song. I feel like just explaining it doesn't do it justice. And yeah, if you just listen to the lyrics, I really feel like it just totally sealed what we've been, you know, sitting on for the last like 11 months.
Yeah.
And it was that day where I'm like, that's it. And what's funny is before that day, people would ask us if we were moving or not, and in my mind I'm like, it's gonna happen, it's just a matter of time, right? And every time I'd be like, oh, when we go. But whenever Brandon talked about it, he would be like, yeah, maybe, or yeah, if we go. And I'd be like, we're going, like I'm going with or without you. Right? But that day when we both like just knew it in our hearts, we just, oh man, it was just imprinted. And then since then we've been planning towards that transition.
That was a long-winded explanation for...
No, but I wanted to share all the details, right? Because I've been wanting to talk about it, but you know, obviously we needed to tell our parents first, and like our close friends and family first, before putting this on video and putting it out on YouTube. And so there were other things that needed to happen before we could release this. If you guys are not signed up for my newsletter, you should totally sign up, because any news that I might share later on YouTube, or if not on YouTube at all, I would send out in the newsletter. So I'll leave a link down below if you want to do that. So for most of you, it's not going to be new, like brand new news, but we did want to tell the story behind it. What else?
You're going to talk about your haircut and piercing at all?
Oh, yeah, I cut my hair and I pierced my face. No, I feel like I don't have to, because I kind of, you know, talked about it on Instagram. But yeah, I've been wanting to cut my hair. I've been curious, because this is actually the shortest I've ever gone. And Brandon, you know, I brought up the idea, like, how do you feel about me cutting my hair? And he was like, you should do it, you know?
Yeah, I'm a little bit of weirdo in a way that
Yeah,
I've always
really
liked. I've always
hair.
liked short hair.
But you know what was a big motivator for me?
What?
Was last year, after I sliced my finger open,
Last year?
I'm sorry, last week. Last Monday, I sliced my finger open with a julienne peeler while I was peeling a carrot. Like, my skin literally flapped open. It was so bad. I was losing so much blood, and it wasn't a matter of me just putting a paper towel on it.
I tried.
Like I normally, because I've cut my finger before. This time, we had to go to the emergency room. It was pretty bad. Anyway, they numbed me, but it took some time for the shot to kick in. And so, like, I felt them stitching up my fingers. It was an interesting experience. And my doctor advised me not to get this finger wet for about 2 weeks, just so that I don't get any infections and stuff. So she was like, yeah, when you shower, like, make sure you stick your finger out like this. I've been, like, cling wrapping it so it doesn't get, like, super wet. But, man, it is... I feel like my right arm is going to be so much buffer after these 2 weeks because I'm like shampooing my hair and then like I just gotta take a break. And you know, I've been wanting to cut my hair shorter. I'm like, this would be the perfect time. Like I would just want to wash short hair. And so actually I just went on Tuesday. And then he didn't even know where I went. He'd already been home before me. He's like, where are you? And I was like, I don't know. And like, we're flirting on the phone for like 15 minutes. He's like, were you doing this? I'm like, nope, nope, nope. Like, all the way until I walked home. And then I opened the door. I'm like, surprise! Yeah.
It's a good surprise.
And then, yeah, it was that night where I was like, babe, I really want to get my septum pierced. And he was like, you should totally do it. I'm like, are you serious? Because, you know, obviously if it's like a face piercing that I want, he's gonna be the one looking at it all the time. And if he's not a big fan of it, that would definitely, you know, play a factor in my decision, right? But he was like all for it. So I'm like on Instagram looking for, you know, a shop in Korea that's reputable. And I had all these questions because you guys know my skin's super sensitive. Brandon, he called for me. He asked all the questions. And we're like, all right, Friday, we're doing it. It's Saturday today, so I actually got this done yesterday. Yeah, and I'm really happy that I did it. Thank you.
No, I mean, I can't take credit for that. I mean, I was lucky that I had a day off because it was like the foundation day of our company. And she's like, will you go with me? I'm like, yeah, actually Friday, you know, seems like a good time. So
I was like, do you want to go tonight? Because the shop was open till like 11 p.m. And he was like, how about this Friday? I don't have work. And I was like, okay. So I put it in my calendar. And like, once it's in my calendar, it's set in stone.
Yeah, but the crazy thing is we get in there, you know, we talk over a few points. But I was starting to get nervous because I was like, oh my God, she's going to like stick a needle through part of her body. I mean, I've never gotten a piercing. So like, I never really thought about it. But yeah, I mean, like she just made the decision. There was no like... She was a little bit nervous, but he didn't like, oh, give me a few minutes kind of thing. And so I got scared and I tried not to say anything.
Oh, no way! I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, I was just nervous. I was like, oh my God, I can't, what if it hurts? It seems like it'd be such a painful thing. And so I just tried to remain quiet and calm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I totally thought you were fully calm.
Oh, no, it was terrifying. I mean, the needle's that long.
Oh, see, I didn't look at the needle.
Like a huge chunk of your body. I mean, ugh.
Oh, and you know what? Another big thing was, you know, the stitches that I got on my fingertips. And you know, your fingertips like are very sensitive. And I felt them stitching it up. And so that pain was super fresh to me. So I was telling Brandon, I'm like, this is the best time to get the septum ring because it's not like this unimaginable pain, right? Like I kind of had a gauge of how much it would hurt. So anyway, it's if anyone's curious, the pain's equivalent to like if you ever had like a pimple in or around your nostril and you try to pop it and it's just, you touch it a little bit and then your eyes just water. It's like that. But just like real quick. So like 3 seconds of like throbbing, and then afterwards it just kind of feels like you have a big boogie hanging on your nose or like a little piece of tissue just like tickling you all day. So
I'm getting one next week.
So going back to our transition real quick, so Brandon mentioned we'll be here till the end of November, and then in early December we're heading to Vietnam first.
Yep, Vietnam.
Yeah. Can you list off some of the places because my memories?
Yeah, so we're gonna hit up Vietnam for close to maybe 3-4 weeks. No,
I think it was like 2-3 weeks.
Okay, yeah, 2-3 weeks. Then we're gonna go to Shanghai to spend the holidays with the Whitmans.
Christmas and New Year's.
Yep. Yeah. And then after that, we're gonna fly to probably either Taiwan, most likely Taiwan, and then Hong Kong, and then maybe we'll fit in Indonesia.
Oh yeah, and then we're gonna finish in Thailand.
Yeah, we're planning on staying at least a week in places, if not 2 weeks, because we don't want to rush through it. And then we're gonna go to the U.S. And so
yeah,
in the U.S. we're gonna be visiting New York, obviously.
Probably be in New York for close to 3 weeks or something like that.
Yeah, I have some friends in North Carolina, so I've never been there. We're gonna visit North Carolina. We're gonna visit the Seattle area. Tacoma, Seattle, Portland, and then the Bay Area we'll have to hit up, and then maybe SoCal, and then play it by ear, I guess.
Definitely
after
play
that.
it by ear.
That's that. Do you have any recommendations?
Yeah.
On where to stay or what to do?
Well, we're hoping to stay with friends, so we could friends and family, so we can save some money on housing and stuff.
Oh yeah, in the U.S. totally.
Oh yeah, in the U.S.
I kind of meant Southeast Asia.
Oh yeah. Southeast Asia Rex would be great.
I think there's some other more obvious questions that we can answer, but maybe not this time since it's already 30 minutes in. But like, what are we gonna do in Maui?
Yeah.
Where's our paychecks coming from?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. We just have some ideas with things we want to try. I think it'd be fun to maybe record like a Q&A session, like a follow-up to this video, if you guys had any specific questions for us or things we can cover if you're interested. I mean, we're still in the process, like I said, of figuring everything out, so
yeah, there's a lot of figuring out to do.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to create content too.
Yeah, Brandon's gonna edit his own videos.
One of these days.
No, because we tried to do videos on his channel, but with Brandon's full-time job, he couldn't edit his videos, and I became the sole editor of my videos and his, and it was a little bit too much. So
yeah, and at the time I think you were already doing 3 a week.
I was doing 4 a week.
4 a week.
Yeah. So I hope you guys feel a little bit more caught up with us. Thank you so much for watching. Again, let us know if you have any questions, and if you haven't done so, please sign up for my newsletter down below. We'll be sending out more updates as they come up. Thank you for watching. Bye.
Bye.
You call me out upon the waters, the great